Why near-death experiences prove we never die. What if death is not an end, but a doorway? What if, in those fleeting seconds when the heart stops and the brain falls silent, something ancient awakens, something far more real than this waking life? Throughout history, across cultures and continents, people who have brushed the veil of death return transformed. They speak of traveling through tunnels of light, of hearing celestial music, of being enveloped by an overwhelming love that defies description. They recount vivid scenes, conversations with beings of light, panoramic life reviews, even glimpses of otherworldly realms that seem more home than Earth itself. And the most haunting part? Their stories are remarkably similar. These are not hallucinations or fragments of a dying brain. Some are verified, witnessed, even recorded. And the deeper we look, the clearer the pattern becomes. These near-death experiences may not just be spiritual anecdotes. They may be undeniable proof that consciousness survives beyond the body. In today's journey, we'll delve into the mystical, the scientific, and the ancient. We'll explore what sacred texts, forgotten civilizations, and modern experiencers all seem to agree upon. We'll examine the patterns hidden in near-death experiences, the echoes of ancient wisdom within them, and why so many who return from the brink say with certainty, "We never truly die." You'll discover why ancient spiritual traditions may have known this truth all along. What modern near-death accounts reveal that science can't yet explain, and how these insights could change the way you live forever. So, take a breath and suspend what you think you know. Because by the end of this video, you may never look at life or death the same way again. Music rises slightly, then fades to a mysterious hum. Long before modern science tried to define the boundaries of life and death, ancient civilizations were already mapping the terrain of the soul. The Egyptians spoke of the Ka and the Ba, two spiritual aspects of a person that left the body after death. They believed that the heart, not the brain, was the seat of consciousness, and the soul's journey continued through the Duat, the mysterious underworld, before being judged by Osiris. But this wasn't a tale of finality. It was a transformation, a transition to a realm of deeper truth. In the Vedic traditions of India, ancient yogis described the Atman, the eternal self that transcends death, birth, and even time. The Bhagavad Gita, one of their sacred texts, states clearly, just as one discards worn-out clothes and puts on new ones, the soul discards worn-out bodies and enters others new. These weren't poetic metaphors, they were considered facts, grounded in spiritual observation and inner science. Through meditation, ritual, and trance states, sages claimed to remember lives they had lived before and see the process of death as if peering behind a veil. In Tibet, the Bardo Thodol, known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, guides the soul through the stages between death and rebirth. Its instructions are not for the living to mourn the dead, but for the dying to navigate their own passage consciously. It assumes that consciousness does not end, it transitions, transforms, and, if awakened, ascends. And yet, in the West, this wisdom was buried. With the rise of materialist philosophy during the Enlightenment, the soul was gradually dismissed as superstition. The body became a machine. Death, a shutdown. Mystical experiences were reduced to chemical anomalies. But some truths refused to be buried. By the 20th century, doctors and researchers began to hear strange stories. Patients who had clinically died and returned. Stories so vivid, so consistent, that they challenged the dominant narrative. These were not delusions or dreams. Some described events that occurred while their brains showed no activity. Others returned with knowledge they couldn't have possibly obtained. And so, modern near-death experiences began echoing what the ancients always knew. We are not our bodies. Consciousness continues. Death is not the end, but a passage. But why has this knowledge been hidden? Why are we conditioned to fear death as the ultimate finality? The answer may lie in control. For millennia, Institutions, religious and political, have profited from the fear of death. If death is the end, obedience in this life becomes paramount. But if we understood truly that we are infinite, sovereign beings traveling through lifetimes, how different would we live? How uncontrollable would we become? Near-death experiences are not just spiritual phenomena, they are acts of rebellion against a system that insists we are finite. And in our next chapter, we'll look deeper into what really happens during these moments. Moments when the body fails, but the soul awakens. What actually happens when we die? Science tells us the heart stops. Electrical activity in the brain ceases. The body begins to shut down, cell by cell. But for thousands of people across the world, this is where the story begins, not ends. Near-death experiencers speak of a sudden detachment from their physical form. In many accounts, they describe floating above their own bodies, seeing doctors and nurses frantically working, hearing conversations, and recalling them with uncanny accuracy. Some even report seeing through walls, or witnessing distant events, details later verified. Then, almost without fail, comes the light. Not the cold white glare of hospital lamps, but an otherworldly radiance. Warm, intelligent, alive. It draws them in, not with force, but with love so complete, so consuming, that many say they never wanted to return. Some describe moving through a tunnel, though many clarify it's not a tunnel in the physical sense. It's more like a shift in vibration, a movement through frequency. On the other side, they often find themselves in a realm of indescribable beauty, a space of light, music, and infinite understanding. And here's where it becomes even more astonishing. Many report a life review, a panoramic replay of their entire existence. But it's not just seeing events from their past. They feel every emotion they ever caused, joy, pain, love, sorrow, from the perspective of the people they impacted. Imagine living your entire life again, but from everyone else's point of view. Why would this happen? In esoteric traditions, there's an idea that we are not judged after death. We judge ourselves. The life review isn't punishment. It's awareness. It's consciousness expanding to comprehend the ripple effect of our presence in the world. In this state, time no longer exists. Many say everything felt instantaneous and eternal at once. Some met beings of light, described as angelic, or simply knowing. Others encountered ancestors, spiritual guides, or even figures they recognized from their personal beliefs. Jesus, Krishna, or unnamed luminous presences. But the most striking commonality is this. Every experiencer returns changed. They no longer fear death. Their lives shift dramatically. More compassion, more clarity, more purpose. They speak of life as a classroom, earth as a soul school, and death as a graduation. Now pause. Consider this. These experiences are happening to people from every walk of life. Doctors, soldiers, children, atheists, clergy, prisoners, people with no religious background. And yet, the patterns are eerily consistent. Some scientists argue that these experiences are just chemical reactions in a dying brain, but that theory collapses under scrutiny. Many NDEs occur during flatline brain states, where EEGs register no activity. In some cases, the person is clinically dead for several minutes, even longer. No oxygen, no awareness. Yet they return with detailed, coherent stories, full of insight, symbolism, and transformation. This suggests something profound. Consciousness is not created by the brain. It uses the brain, like a musician plays an instrument. And when the instrument stops, the music continues. Think of a candle. When the flame goes out, Do we say the light is gone forever? Or has it simply returned to a larger fire? In near-death experiences, we glimpse that larger fire, that eternal consciousness beyond flesh, form, and time. And yet, we've only just scratched the surface, because behind these beautiful tales lies something even more mysterious, a hidden blueprint, a reason why these experiences happen, a deeper message encoded in the patterns. If near-death experiences are more than chemical illusions, if they're glimpses beyond the veil, then why do they follow such similar patterns? What if there's a reason, a structure, a spiritual architecture behind the experience of death, a kind of divine code that every soul is wired to remember when the body falls away? Across thousands of NDEs, certain elements repeat with astonishing frequency. The out-of-body perception, the tunnel of transition, the encounter with light, the life review, and the choice, sometimes heartbreaking, to return. But these aren't just random phenomena. They follow the same journey described in mystical traditions around the world. In the Kabbalistic tree of life, for example, the soul ascends through 10 spheres, each one representing a stage of purification and return to divine source. The tunnel of light? That's the path through the veils of reality. The review of one's deeds? That echoes the soul's confrontation with Dhyat, the hidden Sapphira of knowledge. In Hermeticism, the Emerald Tablet speaks of a return to the one mind. In Gnosticism, the soul must pass through archonic gates, each guarding deeper truths of the self. And in ancient Egyptian belief, the heart is weighed, not judged in punishment, but measured in resonance with Marat, the cosmic order. Near-death experiences are not modern anomalies. They are reenactments of an ancient spiritual journey, one humanity has always known, but forgotten. But what about the differences? Some experiencers describe darkness. Others encounter terrifying visions. Still others enter a blank void, peaceful, but empty. Are these hallucinations? Or something more? Here's where the mystery deepens. Many mystics say that the soul does not enter the same realm at death. It enters the realm that matches its vibration. In this view, heaven and hell aren't locations. They are frequencies of consciousness. And what we experience when we die reflects the state of our inner being. This is why spiritual traditions emphasize purification, awareness, intention. Because in death, there is no mask, no ego, no illusion, only truth. And yet, even in the darkest near-death accounts, there is hope. Many say that just the act of asking for light, of choosing love, transforms the experience. The realm shifts. The darkness fades. The light appears. What does this tell us? That we are not victims of death. We are co-creators of it. Our consciousness shapes what we see, where we go, what we become. And here lies perhaps the most profound insight of all. Many who return from death speak of remembering who they truly are. They say, I remembered I was eternal. I knew I was loved beyond measure. I saw that we are all connected. Not believed, not hoped, knew. As if the veil had lifted and the soul could finally see what it had always known. And perhaps that is the secret near-death experiences reveal. That the greatest illusion isn't death. It's separation. Separation from source. Separation from others. Separation from our true, divine nature. In those brief moments beyond the body, that illusion dissolves. And what's left is truth. That we are light. That we are eternal. That we never really left home. And so the question shifts from what happens when we die to something much more powerful. What if the purpose of life is to remember this before we die? Because in doing so, we don't just remove the fear of death. We unlock the full potential of life. Music rises gently, radiant, uplifting. In the next section, we'll explore how to bring this wisdom into your daily existence. How to touch that eternal awareness now, without having to die first. You don't have to come back from death to awaken. You don't need a tunnel of light to remember who you truly are. The same awareness near-death experiencers describe, that sense of eternal connection, divine presence, and boundless peace, is available now. The body is not the barrier. It's the gateway. So how do we access it? Let's begin with the most ancient of tools, stillness. In almost every sacred tradition, silence is revered, not as emptiness, but as presence. In the stillness of deep meditation, the boundaries between self and soul begin to dissolve. The mind quiets, the ego softens, and something deeper begins to stir. You don't just think about eternity, you touch it. Try this simple practice. The eternal breath technique. Sit in silence. Breathe in slowly for 4 counts. Hold that breath for 4 counts. Breathe out for 4 counts. Hold the emptiness for 4 counts. Repeat this cycle 12 times, with full presence. As you do, say inwardly, I am not the body. I am the soul. Do this daily. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Over time, the line between waking life and spiritual awareness begins to blur. Next, consider what NDEs constantly reveal. Love is the key. Near-death experiencers often say they felt what others felt because of them. Every word, every action, every thought. Not in judgment, but in clarity. It teaches us that every moment is sacred. Every interaction carries energy. So here's your next practice. The mirror of impact. At the end of each day, ask, what did I radiate today? What energy did I leave behind in the hearts I touched? Not to guilt yourself, but to wake up to your soul's ripple. Small shifts create massive echoes in the subtle realms. And finally, embrace lucid living. Live with the awareness that you are more than this moment. More than this name, this story, this skin. The next time you walk outside, say to yourself, this is the dream. But I am the dreamer. The ancients called this witness consciousness, the art of seeing without attachment. It unlocks intuition, eases suffering, and reconnects you to the eternal. You don't need a near-death experience to know you never die. You simply need to remember. And here's one more invitation. If you've ever felt something deeper, an inner knowing, a sense of home you can't describe, a moment where time stood still and love filled the air, that was the glimpse. Trust it. Nurture it. Let it grow. Because this isn't just about preparing for death. It's about transforming life. Music deepens, gentle but powerful. In the final section, we'll reflect on the journey so far, and leave you with one last question that may change everything. What if death is not the end, but the greatest remembering? Across cultures, across centuries, across continents and conditions, those who've crossed the threshold and returned have shared a strikingly similar message. You are not your body. You are not your pain. You are not even your story. You are something far greater. You are consciousness, eternal, expansive, divine. We began this journey by asking a bold question. Do near-death experiences prove we never die? And while science may still debate, the soul already knows. The evidence lies not just in testimonies or brain scans, but in the transformation. People return from these experiences with profound clarity, deeper love, and an unshakable peace. Not because they escaped death, but because they touched truth. And that truth is this: there is no death, only transition. There is no end, only return. There is no punishment, only reflection. And at the heart of it all, there is only love. So ask yourself now, if death is not the end, then what is this moment? What if life is not a trial, but a training ground? Not a punishment, but a preparation for remembering who and what you really are. And if that's true, then the question becomes, how would you live if you truly knew you could never die? Music fades slowly, leaving a soft, open silence. This is the beginning of a deeper journey. If this message stirred something within you, share your thoughts below. And if you're ready to explore more hidden truths, sacred wisdom, and spiritual mysteries, you already know what to do. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and above all, stay awake.